I'm about to reveal something that might shock you, something that happens every single night to hundreds of thousands of people over 50, and most of them have no idea they're in danger until it's too late. Imagine lying down in your bed tonight, closing your eyes just like you've done thousands of times before, and never waking up again. No warning signs you recognized, no pain you remember experiencing, just silence. This happens far more frequently than most people realize. Every single year, hundreds of thousands of adults over the age of 50 experience heart attacks and strokes while they're asleep in what should be the safest, most restorative hours of their day. And here's the most alarming part, the part that should concern everyone watching this. For the vast majority of these victims, the cause wasn't some rare disease, wasn't simply bad luck, and wasn't purely genetics. It was something they were doing every single night, routinely believing it was completely harmless or even beneficial. I'm Dr. Williams Thompson, and before we dive in, I'm curious, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below. And I'd love to know, are you over 50 or are you watching this for someone you care about who is? Share in the comments. In the next several minutes, I'm going to show you the specific nighttime habits that quietly transform sleep from a healing sanctuary into one of the most dangerous periods of the day for your cardiovascular system. And more importantly, much more importantly, I'll show you exactly what you can change starting tonight to dramatically reduce that risk and protect yourself. What you're about to learn is not exaggeration intended to frighten you. It's not fear-mongering for views or attention. This is medical reality backed by decades of research and clinical observation. If you're in the over 50 age group, or if you love someone who is, this message could genuinely save a life. Stay with me. Here's something most people don't realize. Something that fundamentally changes how we should think about sleep and cardiovascular health. Nighttime. Those quiet hours when you believe you're safest is actually when your cardiovascular system becomes most vulnerable to catastrophic events. According to extensive research compiled by the American Heart Association, nearly half of all fatal cardiovascular events in older adults occur between 1000 p.m. and 6 a.m., nearly half. That's not a statistical coincidence or random distribution. That's a pattern with identifiable causes we can understand and address. During normal, healthy sleep, your body is designed to enter a deeply protective physiological mode. This is when healing and restoration should occur. Your blood pressure naturally drops by 10–20% in what's called the nocturnal dip, a crucial protective mechanism. Your heart rate slows down significantly, giving your cardiovascular system much-needed rest. Your nervous system shifts from the sympathetic fight or flight state into the parasympathetic rest and digest mode. Your brain activates sophisticated cleanup systems that clear toxic metabolic waste products that accumulated during your active hours. Waste products that, if allowed to build up, contribute to cognitive decline and neurodegeneration. But when certain habits interfere with these natural protective processes, habits most people don't even recognize as dangerous, sleep transforms from a sanctuary into a physiological minefield. Your cardiovascular system, instead of resting and recovering, remains under stress throughout the night. Your blood pressure, instead of dropping protectively, stays elevated or even rises. Your blood, instead of flowing smoothly, becomes sluggish and prone to clotting. And these dangerous conditions persist for 6, 7, 8 hours or more, creating the perfect conditions for disaster. Tonight, you're going to learn 3 critical things. First, why heart attacks and strokes happen so disproportionately often during sleep hours and what's happening inside your body during those vulnerable hours. Second, the most dangerous nighttime habits specifically affecting adults over 50. Habits you might be practicing right now without realizing the risk. And third, a simple but powerful protective routine you can implement starting tonight that dramatically reduces your cardiovascular risk during sleep. Everything I'll explain is grounded in peer-reviewed medical research and clinical evidence, but presented in a way you can actually understand and apply immediately. Let's begin with the first deadly nighttime habit, one that millions of people practice every single evening. Deadly habit 1, eating late and eating heavy. Many people don't perceive this as dangerous behavior. They think, I'm just having dinner. Everyone eats dinner. What's the problem? But after age 50, when you eat at night, and what you eat can literally determine whether your cardiovascular system rests peacefully or struggles desperately for hours while you sleep. When you consume a large meal late in the evening, especially after 18 or 900 p.m., Several dangerous processes begin simultaneously in your body. Your digestive system suddenly demands dramatically increased blood flow to process the food. Your heart must pump significantly harder to supply adequate blood to your stomach, intestines, and digestive organs. Your blood pressure rises sharply instead of falling into that protective nocturnal dip. Your entire metabolism speeds up and becomes active precisely when it should be slowing down to prepare for restorative sleep. In simple, direct terms, you're forcing your heart to work overtime, to labor under increased demand at the exact moment when it desperately needs rest the most. Think about it this way. Imagine working a physically demanding job all day, then being told you have to do several more hours of intense labor right before you're finally allowed to rest. That's what you're doing to your heart with late, heavy meals. A major longitudinal study published in the European Heart Journal followed over 100,000 adults for several years, tracking their eating patterns and cardiovascular outcomes. The results were both clear and deeply disturbing. People who regularly consumed late dinners demonstrated a significantly higher risk of nighttime heart attacks and strokes compared to those who ate their final meal earlier in the evening. This wasn't a small difference. This was a substantial measurable increase in life-threatening events. Why does late eating create such profound cardiovascular danger? Late digestion dramatically raises triglycerides in the bloodstream, fats that promote arterial inflammation and plaque instability. It increases systemic arterial inflammation throughout your vascular system. It completely disrupts the normal protective drop in nighttime blood pressure that your body desperately needs. Instead of your cardiovascular system entering rest mode, it remains in active stress mode for hours. And there's another danger that most people completely ignore or don't connect to cardiovascular risk. Going to bed with a full stomach significantly increases acid reflux and gastroesophageal reflux disease symptoms. But acid reflux doesn't just cause that familiar burning discomfort in your chest and throat. It can directly stimulate the vagus nerve, a major nerve that connects your digestive system to your heart. This vagal stimulation can trigger dangerous heart rhythm disturbances, especially in older adults whose electrical conduction systems are already more vulnerable and less stable. I once worked with a 68-year-old patient who had eaten heavy late dinners habitually for decades. She never connected this pattern to any health risk. It was just how she ate. And when dinner happened in her household, one night she suffered a significant heart attack in her sleep. When we examined her history and patterns, it became clear her heart had been under constant nighttime cardiovascular stress for years. And that particular night, under that accumulated burden, it finally gave out. The good news, the empowering news, is this. Correcting this single habit brings immediate, measurable benefits that begin the very first night you implement the change. Earlier, lighter dinners allow your heart to truly rest during nighttime hours. Blood pressure stabilizes and enters that protective nocturnal dip. The risk of nocturnal cardiovascular events drops dramatically and measurably. Your digestive system completes its work before you lie down, eliminating the increased demand on your heart during vulnerable sleeping hours. This isn't a complicated intervention. This is simply timing and portion awareness. But the cardiovascular impact is profound. Deadly habit 2. Skipping medications or taking them at the wrong time. If you take medication for blood pressure, cholesterol management, or blood thinning, this section is absolutely critical for your survival. Please pay very close attention. Blood pressure naturally follows a predictable daily rhythm in healthy individuals. This is called your circadian blood pressure pattern. During active daytime hours, blood pressure remains elevated to support activity, movement, and metabolic demands. During nighttime sleep, it should drop significantly. That protective nocturnal dip we discussed earlier. But in many adults over 50, particularly those with existing cardiovascular conditions, this protective drop doesn't happen as it should, or worse, blood pressure actually rises during nighttime hours. This dangerous pattern is called nocturnal hypertension, and it dramatically increases the risk of nighttime heart attacks and strokes. Your arteries, already potentially compromised by age-related changes and plaque buildup, face sustained high pressure for hours while you sleep. Hours when they should be experiencing reduced pressure and reduced stress. Large-scale studies published in The Lancet, one of the most prestigious medical journals in the world, have demonstrated something remarkable about medication timing. Properly timed cardiovascular medication can reduce nighttime heart attack and stroke risk by nearly 50%, nearly half. This isn't about taking different medications or higher doses. This is simply about taking the same medications at the optimal time for nighttime cardiovascular protection. But missing doses entirely or taking medication inconsistently and haphazardly allows silent, dangerous blood pressure spikes during sleep hours. Spikes you're completely unaware of because you're unconscious. These pressure spikes can rupture vulnerable fatty plaques that have built up in your arterial walls over years. They can dislodge fragments of plaque that travel through your bloodstream as embol. They can form clots that travel to your heart, causing a heart attack, or to your brain, causing a stroke. And critically, they often strike without any warning symptoms you would recognize or respond to. I've worked with patients who casually forgot their cardiovascular medication several nights per week. They didn't think it mattered that much. They just catch up tomorrow or figured missing a few doses won't hurt. One of them suffered a massive, devastating stroke overnight during one of those medication-free nights. He survived, but with permanent paralysis affecting half his body. His life was irrevocably changed by what seemed like a minor oversight. Medication timing and consistency are not minor details you can be casual about. When it comes to cardiovascular medications, this is genuinely a matter of life and death. Always discuss optimal medication timing with your physician. Specifically, ask about nighttime cardiovascular protection. Never skip doses casually. If you're having trouble remembering, use pill organizers, phone alarms, whatever system works for you. Your life may depend on this consistency. Deadly habit 3, undiagnosed or untreated sleep apnea. Now let's discuss the third deadly nighttime habit. One of the most underdiagnosed and undertreated killers in adults over 50, sleep apnea. Sleep apnea causes repeated cyclical pauses in breathing during sleep. These aren't brief pauses. They can last 10 seconds, 20 seconds, sometimes even 30 seconds or longer. Each pause drops oxygen levels in your bloodstream significantly. Each oxygen drop triggers an emergency physiological response throughout your body. Your heart suddenly speeds up, trying to compensate for reduced oxygen. Your blood pressure spikes dramatically. Stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol flood your system. Your brain partially awakens, often without you remembering it consciously, to restart breathing. Then you fall back asleep. Your breathing stops again and the entire dangerous cycle repeats. This can happen dozens, even hundreds of times per night in severe cases. Yet many people with sleep apnea have no conscious memory of these events. They simply know they wake up exhausted despite sleeping for 7 to 8 hours. Large-scale studies from major universities, including research from institutions like Johns Hopkins, Harvard, and Stanford, show that untreated sleep apnea triples the risk of nighttime heart attacks. It quadruples the risk of strokes. These aren't modest increases. These are dramatic, life-threatening risk elevations. Critical warning signs include loud, chronic snoring that disturbs your partner or can be heard in other rooms, waking up gasping for air or choking, persistent morning headaches upon waking, extreme daytime fatigue and sleepiness despite adequate time in bed, blood pressure that's difficult to control despite medication, waking with a dry mouth or sore throat frequently. One of my patients thought her loud snoring was merely annoying to her husband, embarrassing but not dangerous. She had no idea she was stopping breathing repeatedly every night. One night during a particularly severe apneic episode, her oxygen saturation dropped so low that her heart rhythm became unstable and chaotic. She survived only because her husband recognized something was terribly wrong and called emergency services immediately. Treatment with CPAP therapy, continuous positive airway pressure, completely transformed her cardiovascular health and her quality of life. Sleeping on your side rather than your back can reduce sleep apnea severity in some cases by preventing the tongue and soft tissues from collapsing backward and blocking the airway. But positional therapy alone is not a substitute for proper medical diagnosis and treatment. If you have moderate to severe sleep apnea, if you recognize these warning signs, consult a sleep specialist. Sleep studies can be done at home. Now, in many cases, this isn't about comfort or snoring annoyance. This is about preventing catastrophic cardiovascular events while you sleep. Deadly habit 4, going to bed dehydrated. Now let's move to the fourth deadly nighttime habit, one that many older adults adopt intentionally, deliberately, believing it's actually protecting their sleep quality and convenience. This habit is going to bed in a dehydrated state. After the age of 50, something changes in your body's thirst signaling mechanism. The sensation of thirst, that urgent need to drink water, becomes progressively weaker and less reliable. Many older adults also intentionally limit their fluid intake in the evening hours, specifically to avoid waking up multiple times during the night to use the bathroom. On the surface, this strategy sounds completely practical and reasonable. You want uninterrupted sleep, so you reduce nighttime fluids. It makes logical sense. In cardiovascular reality, however, this practice is extremely dangerous and significantly increases your risk of nighttime heart attacks and strokes. While you sleep peacefully for 7, 8, or more hours, your body continues losing water continuously through multiple pathways. You lose water through respiration. Every breath you exhale contains moisture. You lose water through perspiration, even if you're not noticeably sweating. You lose water through normal metabolic processes. If you're already going to bed in a dehydrated state, your circulatory system enters those vulnerable nighttime hours at a severe disadvantage from the very beginning. Here's what happens inside your cardiovascular system when dehydration occurs. When you're dehydrated, your blood volume decreases and your blood becomes measurably thicker, more viscous, more concentrated. This isn't a metaphor. This is actual physical blood consistency changing. Thicker, more viscous blood flows more slowly through your blood vessels. It encounters more resistance. It requires more pressure to move through your circulatory system. Slow-moving viscous blood forms dangerous clots far more easily than properly hydrated blood. The cellular components, red blood cells, platelets, clotting factors, have more opportunity to aggregate and stick together. Now combine this thickened blood with normal nighttime physiology, and you understand why this becomes so dangerous. During sleep, your heart rate naturally slows significantly. This is normal and healthy. Your blood pressure should drop into that protective nocturnal dip we've discussed. But if your blood is thick and viscous at the same time, your circulation is naturally slowing blood flow to critical organs, especially your heart muscle, and your brain can become dangerously critically reduced. This creates the perfect conditions for ischemic events, tissue damage from inadequate blood flow. A comprehensive study published in the Journal of Cardiovascular Disease examined the relationship between hydration status and nighttime cardiovascular events. The findings were stark and concerning. Even moderate dehydration, not severe, just moderate, raised the risk of nighttime cardiovascular events by over 60%. More than half again as likely to experience a heart attack or stroke during sleep simply from being inadequately hydrated. I remember working with a 70-year-old patient who proudly told me during a routine checkup that he had solved his nighttime bathroom. He never drank any water after dinner. Problem solved, he thought. One early morning around 4:00 a.m., he suffered a significant stroke in his sleep. Emergency imaging showed a clot blocking a major cerebral artery, one of the arteries supplying blood to his brain. Blood tests revealed his blood was unusually concentrated and viscous. Dehydration had played a key, potentially decisive role in creating the conditions for that clot to form. The solution to this dangerous habit is not complicated, doesn't require any special equipment, and costs absolutely nothing. Drink 1 full glass of water, 8 ounces, approximately 1 to 2 hours before your planned bedtime. This timing gives your body time to process the fluid and eliminate excess before you lie down. Solution: maintain bedroom temperature at 65-70 degrees Celsius consistently. Here's what's crucial to understand. Each one of these habits alone significantly increases your nighttime cardiovascular risk. But together, when multiple habits combine, they create a perfect storm of cardiovascular danger. The risks don't just add together, they multiply and amplify each other. A person who eats late, skips medications occasionally, has untreated sleep apnea, goes to bed dehydrated, and sleeps in a too hot or too cold room is courting disaster every single night. The truth is simultaneously painful and empowering, frightening and hopeful. Many nighttime heart attacks and strokes are not inevitable fate. They are not purely genetic destiny you cannot escape. They are not random bad luck striking without cause. They are preventable through knowledge and consistent action. You don't need expensive medical treatments to implement these protections. You don't need extreme lifestyle overhauls or complicated routines that are impossible to maintain. You need 3 things: awareness, commitment, and consistency. Awareness, which you now have through this information. Commitment, the decision to actually implement these changes, not just think about them. Consistency, following through night after night, not just occasionally when you remember. If you are over 50, tonight genuinely matters. Not next week, not after you get around to it. Tonight, these changes need to begin tonight, this evening, as you prepare for sleep. Your heart has worked faithfully for you for 50, 60, 70 or more years. It has beaten billions of times, pumping blood continuously without you even thinking about it. Now it needs your protection during its nightly rest period. Now it needs you to create conditions where it can recover and restore itself. You owe your heart this protection. You owe yourself this protection. Before you leave this video, I'm asking you to do 4 important things that will help both you and others. First, subscribe to this channel. Every week, I share evidence-based, life-saving health information explained clearly and practically for adults over 50. This information could save your life or the life of someone you love. Second, like this video. This isn't about ego or vanity metrics. Likes help this critical message reach more people through YouTube's algorithm. People who may not know they're at risk. People who are practicing these deadly habits right now without understanding the danger. Third, leave a comment below. Write, "I'm changing this tonight," or "starting the heart-safe routine tonight." Your public commitment increases your likelihood of following through, and your comment may inspire someone else reading through the comments to take action as well. Fourth, share this video with someone you genuinely care about, a spouse or partner, a parent or older relative, a friend who's over 50. You may never know whose life you protect by sharing this information, but that doesn't make it any less valuable. Sleep should heal you, restore you, and strengthen you. Sleep should not harm you or put you at risk. But for too many adults over 50, sleep has become a dangerous time, a time when their bodies are most vulnerable to catastrophic cardiovascular events. This doesn't have to be your reality. This doesn't have to be the reality of the people you love. Take control starting tonight. Implement the heart-safe nighttime routine. Eliminate these 5 deadly habits one by one if you need to, or all at once if you can track how you feel. Notice improvements in morning energy, sleep quality, overall sense of well-being. Notice your blood pressure readings improving if you monitor them regularly. These aren't just numbers and statistics. This is your life, your health, your future. Before we close, if you made it all the way through this video, I'd love for you to type "I watched till the end" in the comments below. This helps this message reach more people who desperately need it. And I'm genuinely curious, which of these 5 deadly habits have you been practicing without realizing the danger? Which one surprised you most? Share your thoughts in the comments. Are you going to implement the heart-safe nighttime routine? If so, which part will be most challenging for you? Let me know. Your struggles might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to realize they're not alone. What other health topics for adults over 50 would you like me to cover? What concerns keep you awake at night? Drop your suggestions in the comments. If you found this information valuable, if you learned something that could genuinely protect your health, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss future life-saving content. Thank you for trusting me with your time today. Thank you for caring enough about your health and the health of those you love to watch this entire video and learn this critical information. This is Dr. Williams Thompson reminding you, your heart has been faithful to you for decades. Now it's time to be faithful to your heart by protecting it during its most vulnerable hours. Sleep should be your sanctuary, not your danger zone. Starting tonight, make it safe again. Take care of yourself. Implement these changes consistently. And remember, you have far more control over your cardiovascular health than you might have realized. The power to protect yourself during sleep is now in your hands. Use it wisely. Use it tonight. Sweet dreams, safe heart, and I'll see you in the next.